Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folari. Well, a bit of good news, at least with the ceasefire between the U.S., Iran, well, the U.S., Israel against Iran. With that ceasefire, 2-week ceasefire, they say that there's been a rallying of stocks around the world. People are breathing a bit easier, but just a bit, because it still is cloudy, it still is shaky, I would imagine. You know, with the American president, you really don't know. And so you have to follow very, very closely from day to day. But it is said that there's been a 2-week ceasefire declared, and it is still holding. People are going to want to see it practically, and I don't think it has come to that yet, at least in Africa. In fact, in other parts of the world as well. But we'll be talking about that today. And what is this ceasefire going to do? Will it hold? Is it real? Especially as it relates to the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz, as everybody knows, you know, has been causing a lot of trouble once it had been blocked by Israel. And there was talk about it being, you know, opened forcefully by the U.S. There was a lot of talk of ground troops, U.S. ground troops going into Iran. Don't know where that particular idea is at the moment, but there was all of that talk. So we're not quite out of the woods yet. However, we talk about it a bit this morning, and let's play this background report to give us context.
First ships have now passed the Strait of Hormuz after mediated ceasefire between U.S. and Iran. The 2-week ceasefire was announced after the U.S. and Iran agreed to a proposal. Mediators say the next 48 hours are the final opportunity to avoid a major escalation. Pakistan introduced the draft on April the 5th after overnight negotiations between Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi.
The Iranians have agreed to open up the straits. The United States has agreed to stop attacking. And not just the United States, but also our allies have agreed to stop attacking. And that is the basis of this fragile truce that we have, which is now, 8 to 12 hours old.
The deal allowed President Trump to extricate himself from what was shaping up to be a treacherous choice, either escalating with his promise that a whole civilization would die tonight, or backing down and undermining his credibility. The U.S. president may have bought himself a temporary reprieve. However, court disputes remain. Washington wants a phased ceasefire with Hormuz reopened first. Iran wants a permanent comprehensive deal with sanctions lifted and reparations. Now, whilst details of the proposal remain fluid, the framework is two-tiered. Phase 1 is immediate. It proposes a halt to hostilities and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Implementation for Phase 2 is expected to kick off in 15 to 20 days. It will include negotiations toward a broader settlement. A tentative Islamabad accord would create a regional framework for the strait, with final in-person talks in Islamabad. Meanwhile, the U.S. wants the plan to include immediate ceasefire, 2-phase agreement structure, reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, guaranteed maritime security, nuclear constraints on Iran, conditional sanctions relief, and release of frozen Iranian assets. Iran, however, rejected the 45-day proposal and sent a counter-proposal demanding a permanent end of the war. Tehran's 10-clause response includes end to conflict in the region, protocol for safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, lifting of sanctions and reconstruction, war reparations and compensation, recognition of Iranian sovereignty over the strait, and guarantees Israel would not target Hezbollah in Lebanon. Tehran is pushing back on a temporary truce. Officials say they want guarantees they will not be attacked by the U.S. and Israel. President Trump called Iran's counter not good enough, but says it is a significant step. If this proposal pulls through, Iran would have effectively tightened its grip and weaponized the Strait of Hormuz, as it is now seeking to charge fees on ships transiting through the strait. While both Washington and Tehran continue to consider the proposal, Pakistan, the sole communication channel in the talks, is hoping a broader peace deal can be reached in the coming weeks. Precious Amayo, TVC News.
So there you have it. Indeed, we'd like to hear what your take is, or you students of observers and students of geopolitics who make of this. The negotiation, such as it is, outlined in that report, I guess that takes a bit of watching, looking at. So what exactly does this mean? Is it even-handed, or is it a matter of my way or no way from the U.S.? As you heard in that report, they want, the Americans would want a cessation of, quite frankly, everything that makes Iran an effective participant in this engagement. I'm calling it an engagement because it's unfortunate that it actually is a war. The cost has been horrendous to the region, but particularly to Iran. U.S. Israeli, missiles have struck non-military targets, all to sort of, the word has been used, bully Iran into submission. But Iran is not having it. And in fact, a lot of people are surprised, perhaps not least, perhaps most of all, the Iranians, that Israel, nothing has happened along the lines that they planned. The whole idea was that Israel would be so battered and badgered that there would inevitably be a regime change. This hasn't happened. So that's one calculation that didn't go well for the US and Iran. It was felt, don't forget that at the very beginning of all of this, it was felt that this was something that was going to last a week as far as the US was concerned. But you hit them, you hit Iran enough, it'll come to the negotiating table, but it hasn't happened. In fact, it got to the stage where there was a meme all over the internet, something about the war, has now been over. They have effectively taken out all the power that Israel has. But Israel has said that, and not just has said, has shown that it's not over at all. In fact, bring it on. We're very, very much in this. And so there's been this pummeling, there's been miscalculation on all sides. When I say miscalculation, in fact, I shouldn't have said on all sides, particularly on the American sides, because where America thought that it knew exactly where Iran was, where its armaments were, all of that, none of that has panned out. And I dare say that perhaps to the surprise of the US and Iran, I beg your pardon, to the surprise of America and Israel, Iran is still firing missiles and causing much damage. The tightest squeeze, I think, must be the Strait of Hormuz, which, quite frankly, has been weaponized by Iran. It's being closed, but then Iran constantly points out that it's closed just to enemies of Iran. In fact, collaborators, with Israel and the US. Garba is calling in from Makurdi. Good morning, Garba.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
See, my take on this issue is that, I don't know what happened to the US. They may, as you said, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
They underestimated the strength of Iran. Let me be honest with you. Even me that I'm here in Nigeria, that I'm watching what is going on globally, I expect by now everything will be over.
Yeah.
But the fact is that America understand that if they keep on doing it, they are putting the economy and the entire world into serious crisis. I will give you an example. Look at here in Africa, let's say Nigeria. What is our own business with what is happening in the Middle East? That's why you see the whole world has become a global village. Whatever happens down there will affect us directly or indirectly here. Look at what we are facing now. The price of commodities are going high, and the implication of a war. There is nothing good in a war. Diplomacy is the solution. No matter how the United States of America and Israel will keep on bombarding Iran, they are so resilient. I will give you an example. We have Shiite member in Nigeria. I'm sorry to say it. Previous administration, you know what happened in Zaria. Look how they do to the Shiite member. But still, till now, up to now, they are still with that ideology. You cannot defeat ideology with a gun. You can never defeat ideology with a gun. That's why I will refer back to the country again. The issue of Boko Haram. Extremism. You cannot defeat extremism and ideology with gun. So that's what is happening in Iran. Whatever US will do, they will never, and they cannot. At the end of the day, they will come back to round-table diplomacy. That's what is happening. Look at what happened in Afghanistan. At the end of the day, they're wrong. Look at what happened in Libya. Look at what happened in Syria. And the fact is that, look at what the United States at the end of the day wanted to do. They wanted to use their own citizens against them, which is, it become a civil war.
Yeah, yeah.
And look at how we are taking it now. Our price of commodities, price of cost of transportation, cost of living in general is getting higher and higher in the country. That's why war will not do anything good to anybody in every part of this world. They have to come back to the round table. And I'm glad, I'm happy. As a citizen of this country, as a woman, I look at it in terms of humanity. Because the innocent soul, children that were being killed, I don't want to see all those things. Let them come back to the round table and negotiate with them. Because no matter how Iranian people are so resilient, and we have in Nigeria here, they're sympathizing with them. Look at what happened. The sympathizers, what they are planning to do. That's what makes the EU issue advisory to their citizens in the country.
Indeed.
Because we have them.
Indeed. So
I'm calling on the Indian government of Nigeria. Lastly, please, I'm calling on the federal government. Matter of kindness and compassion and humanity. They should look into this crisis. If they can bring a way that they can cushion the effort within a short period of time. Election is coming. Opposition, they will use it against them. I think even it's 2 months, 3 months. Let Nigeria see relief. Because now we are getting the money for transportation. Imagine I want to go and buy goods in the market and I have to pay twice transport than I'm paying before. Let the government think, have human thinking, and think what we are going to have a nice day over there.
Well, thank you very much, Garba, for calling in on that. Business analyst, oil and gas expert, and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
You met us in the midst of, looking at it. In fact, Garba, who had called in, was giving his own analysis that he wasn't really sure, and a lot of people who feel like that war was going to solve anything at all. And here we have it. America had thought that this was going to be a very, very short one. I guess there are those who say America has this bully syndrome of, look, we can go in there. We're going to blow them to kingdom come. They must do what we want. And
send them to hell.
You remember it. So all of that was going on. But that's not what is playing out. In fact, there have been horrendous miscalculations. Israel was not supposed to be in, Iran is not supposed to be in existence by now, going by the rhetoric of President Donald Trump. Yeah. But that's not the way it is. Your thoughts, please, on this situation.
It is not, good morning,
yes,
our viewer, and Okedoye.
You're welcome.
If we take a look at the antecedent of Iran and Israel, date back decades of being at loggerhead at each other. It does. And Iran has shown resilience over time. When the president of the United States discovered that Iran is pursuing their uranium program aggressively, I think they underestimated Iran. They didn't know that they've gone way ahead of what they thought they have. And they have not released all their arsenal that is in their clothes, with what I'm saying.
It is being thought that Iran has actually been preparing for today for the past 40 years. Yes.
Because they know one day America and Israel will come for them.
It's going to happen.
And it has come. I think the pressure that the other opinion leaders are mounting on the United States to solve better and use diplomacy. Maybe they can use carrot and stick approach. because confrontation is not winning the game as of today. If confrontation that President Trump has prepared is going to work, we could have forgotten about this war 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
But we are here. It's still very fresh. Now, the market is reacting irrational to this war. If President Trump make a statement today, it's either increase the stock or fall the stock, or increase the cost of energy or reduce the cost of energy. And so the world is not in a better place as of today. There are some other countries in the Gulf that are feeling it so badly, more than Nigeria is feeling it.
Especially as Iran, as you know, has taken on this attitude of fine. We might not be able to reach into the U.S., who we consider an enemy,
get to the ally.
But they're getting to their allies in the Gulf region.
Yes.
And now suddenly those ones are having another, a second thought about this whole thing, that, look, this is not the way it was planned.
Yeah.
America was supposed to be, between America and Israel, they were supposed to be able to assure them of protection.
Yes, but now everybody to himself.
Quite frankly, I don't want us to politicize it too much, but Iran is not going anywhere. Iran it depends on what index you are using. Iran is said to be the oldest country in the world. There are some who say by government, Iran is the oldest, country in the world. And none of this is going to be new to Iran, especially when they go down history through the millennia.
Yes.
And so it's like they're prepared for this, and for some reason, all the experts in America and Israel especially didn't read it well at all.
Yeah, they underestimated Iran, and everybody is feeling the brunt. Everybody, including us, that are far away from them. Because it's affecting us here.
I wanted to bring it down to us here. The prices, well, there are those who are saying that this situation in the Middle East is a boon for Nigeria and its oil. Do you agree with that? And how does one sort of state that?
Yeah, those who say that they are not far from the truth. It is positive and negative for us. Positive in the sense that we have a stronger revenue coming into us in the last 3-4 weeks. And we can call it a windfall.
Because of the surge.
Because of the surge in the price of oil. And then it's giving us a good balance sheet. But how does it translate to the common man immediately?
That's the most important
The negative of it is that it has caused a disruption in logistics supply of energy, which Nigeria is still grappling with energy insufficiency. For example, Nigeria is a country of huge population that lacks energy. Our energy ratio to our population is abysmal. Don't let us even be saying it. We are just at what? 5,000, 6,000 megawatts of 230, 250 million people. Yeah. What ratio do you see? And then we are managing ourselves. All of a sudden, boom, from 700 naira, our petrol has jumped to 1,300.
Yes.
And so how does the common man cope? Transportation cost has gone to the roof.
And we have been told that whereas we do have crude, and we also have a refinery, and a lot of people placed plenty of hope in that. But then I think it has been pointed out, and maybe you might have pointed it out on the program before, that there are still inputs that come from outside of here that have to be sourced in dollars.
Yeah. Our energy sufficiency strategy needs to be holistic. We should not think because we have oil in the Niger Delta, and so we are immune. We are not, because even our energy resource potential has not been fully utilized. What is our refined capacity? What's our reserve capacity? The saving grace we have today is that we have a refined capacity in Lagos, in Dangote. If not, what we are talking today with this Iran war, the petrol will have gotten to 4,000, 5,000 per liter.
Really?
Yes.
Really? This is the imponderable thought. So God has been very, very kind.
So what does our government need to do? We need to be strategic and think far ahead, beyond our nose, that this thing could also happen somewhere else. We must be holistic in our energy sufficiency, in the sense that our refined capacity, our logistics support in-house, locally, must be thorough. And the government policy must look in the direction of having to find a strategy to cushion the effect of this kind of a shock in the life of Nigeria.
What are our reserves like? Because you being an expert and also being a player in the industry, what are Nigeria's reserves, oil reserves like? Do we have any?
We have.
Okay.
We have enough oil, and we even have more gas than the oil. Nigeria is more of gas nation than oil. And we are still just scratching it. Honestly, it is just for us to have a program that is going to be followed through, not changing by government, not disjusted arrangement. We want to see Nigeria in the next 40 years. We must commit to it. Because energy industry is a strategic industry for Nigeria and for the West Africa, for the Africa. By whatever Nigeria does with our energy, it's also affecting other people. And then we have not been wielding our power because we are not following up a holistic approach, step by step, to arrive at where we are. For electricity, we are short of. Oil production, we are short of. What is our production capacity today? We are not yet 2 million of 250 million people. Saudi Arabia is how many millions of people?
Yeah.
Just like a little bigger than Lagos. They are producing upward of 4 million barrels per day.
And then on top of all of that, there's the petrodollar phenomenon, where, in fact, I understand that they weren't happy. America, the Middle East, they weren't happy with this naira for crude arrangement that we had. They weren't happy at all because they see that as threatening the whole petrodollar concept.
Yes.
It's been agreed in inverted quotes, it's been agreed that you will source dollar and then buy what you need with the dollars that you can only get from us. Okay. And so that whole idea of naira for crude, America didn't like it at all.
They will not be happy. Let me remind you of what is the design of our Warri refinery especially. Okay. Do you know, it will burst your bubble, to know that Warri refinery was designed to process crude from outside. Okay. Whereas we have a light crude here. It was designed to handle a heavy crude. Who does that to us? As far back as 70s.
Oh, but didn't we have experts at the time?
That is the influence of this foreign power that I'm talking about.
Okay.
And our people are playing to gallery.
I
cannot understand why our former leader, we commissioned a plant that is processing a crude from another country. Whereas you have your own that is even sweet. They call it, our crude is sweet. Yes. Yet you go and carry the one that is heavy. That is why you see Warri refinery struggling. You know, we
have Bonnie Light.
Yeah, we have cotton, the newer crude grade now Nigeria is exporting. Very sweet, less sulfur. When I was in the system, working with national oil company, we are bringing our crude to go and blend with the one that we imported when we have it in abundance here. So you can see there's an economic war that's keeping Nigeria on this knee.
So the way you're explaining it, it looks like there's something impeding Nigeria from standing on its own two oil feet, so to speak.
We must break that genes. There is still the voice of Esau, but the hand of Jacob.
Of course.
In this our matter of energy. Of course. Because Nigeria is a strategic country in the continent. And whatever happens to Nigeria, it has a bearing on the whole of Africa. And so we are of special interest.
We are.
Why do you think America is always give so many things? When we want to make some progress, they will put some things inside and say Nigeria is not safe, this is not, just to make sure that investment that's supposed to come is not coming. We must unite in this nation if we want to get out of this world that we are.
I was just asking my guest, the Nigerian connection, because we need to bring these things home, and he's been explaining the different categories of crude, how we are so advantageously placed, but his concern was that have we taken full advantage of our that comparative advantage that Nigeria has in the oil scenario? So and I think we had just said that even Venezuela, that a lot of people are making about, they have a very difficult, so to speak, kind of crude oil. So we're way ahead, but you were worried that have we taken full advantage of the comparative advantage we have? But then there's also the American situation where they don't want to give us any leeway. As soon as we try to say that, oh, we have this advantage, we can do this by ourselves, they don't like it simply because of the petrodollar effect.
It's a very strategic point that the Western world used to play with us. And they are determined that they want to know exactly what's happening to us in our oil industry, especially, and energy. Because a nation that is sufficient in energy and produce steel will rule the world. Check it. China, Japan, America, Germany, they are sufficient in the energy and they produce steel. And these are things that are available to us in Nigeria in a large quantity. Why has it not come to be?
Because we haven't sorted our
Because we
matter
have
out.
sorted our matter out, and we have not been weaned from sucking the breast
So to
of the
speak.
West, so to speak. We are just big and giant in number, in populations, in landmass, in natural resources, in human resources, but all that has not come to be to deliver us a very good life.
Now, transportation is part of it, of course, and we know that this, once transportation factors into any national endeavor, it's going to take the price up. So we know that. But there's also agriculture.
Yes.
Because part of all of this is fertilizer production as well.
Yes.
And once there are difficulties with fertilizer production, it'll further further escalate prices because there will be less of it for farmers to use.
Yes.
And the precious little that is produced is going to be priced almost, out of the reach of the ordinary man. So it actually can threaten, is inflation the right word?
Yeah, it will aggravate the existing fragile inflation situation that we have. It's beginning to show. Once you put a spanner or a clog in the wheel of energy, it has a spiral effect on every sector. And agriculture that you mentioned bear the brunt so much because you need that logistics, transportation of the input and even the output. So the moment there is an inflation in the cost of petrol, it translates into transport cost. It will reduce the amount of goods that can come out of the hinterland to the market. And even the one that gets to the market will be on the upward trend in prices. So the whole thing is in shambles.
So I am looking for a way out, maybe selfishly, for a way out for Nigeria. Whereas other countries might be bemoaning that, oh, their supply, because there's the blockade at the Hormuz Strait. And Nigeria doesn't need to go through the Hormuz Strait. Yes. We are here. We have crude. We have refinery. Yeah. But people say that's being a bit simplistic about it.
Yeah, because
can't we be, for at least for the period of this difficulty, be an island unto ourselves? We bring our own crude from the ground. Yes. We have our own refinery, at least, the Dangote refinery.
Yes. I think that is serving us a bit. That is why we still see that price modulated to this level.
Okay.
If it is not there, we will have been thrown to a severe effect of it. If you need to bring the product from Malta, from US, or from Europe, it will be a lot because why? We may not be passing through Hormuz, but what is feeding the Europe that we are tapping from will be caught because there's an adage in Yoruba that says if the fire is burning me and is burning my children, you will first of all remove yourself from the fire.
Yes.
And so they will stop anything that is going to come to us in Africa. They will sort themselves out first. And that is why we cannot say because we have our crew there and then we are not passing through the Hormuz. No. Because look at it. The production that we are doing here is already been programmed. There is, in oil and gas, you don't produce down and be looking for buyer. No, you have a offtake agreement, which you must sacrosanctly fulfill.
Yeah, I think future selling.
Future selling is already there. In fact, some of our crude has been sold years ago. We've collected the money.
Okay, and we must supply.
And we must supply. You must deliver. Because we cannot say, okay, let us just stop that one.
Because
and start
of
pushing
the current exigency. It doesn't work like that.
What we need to do is to do more, think ahead. Okay, we know our situation that we have receivables that we are servicing. Can we think and improve on our production to have a buffer over and above what we need to supply to what we have been obligated to do? Those are the things we need our government and our handlers to look at. There is a policy that was instituted by this present board of NNPC to stop everything they are doing on the innovation of refinery. What has come of it in the last 2 months again? We have not heard anything. Are we going to leave the system just like that?
Okay, one moment, please. Let me bring in Mr. Ajijola. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in, sir. Good morning.
God bless you, sir. I appreciate your listening, the audience, to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to make a little contribution to the ongoing discussion on the line right now.
Sure.
For my own little understanding, I know there has been a benchmark of what should be given to Nigeria for Nigeria consumption from the production of our crude oil.
Okay.
And if that is the case, the allocation of domestic crude oil for our consumption, which could be given or should be given to Dangote to refine in-house, will not be affected by the global market demand, because we are producing it from the market here.
Okay.
And this is where the government should come in to bail out Nigeria. Nigeria are dying. Nigeria are suffering. You are suffocating us by not listening to us and using international market to benchmark Nigeria in consumption of fuel. There is a way by which we can go about it, and that way that been mapped out long time. So please, let the government listen to us and do something reasonable so that we will not be all dead before the end of this so-called fracas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ajijola. Please comment on
a very good point.
His thesis.
Yeah, a very good comment from him. That is domestic obligations that we need to meet. But I'd like to remind us that as of today, Nigeria is not meeting up our quota. Our production quota we are below the line. We have not met the OPEC quota that we are obligated to do. And that's why the government is working assiduously to make sure there is a peace in Niger Delta. The pipelines run, and those who are not connected are connected. So government has a lot of work to do. We need to produce more than what we are doing. And that's why you see the projection of this present government say we must produce 2 million by the end of this year. And by 2027, get to 3 million barrels. Are we there? Is it in sight? Those are questions that our leaders and the handlers in the oil and gas should look at it critically. If we are meeting our OPEC quota, plus the domestic obligation, this crude that they are trying to increase for Dangote allocation now will have been on the ground already. By next month, we heard that there will be an increased allocation to Dangote for processing.
Okay.
If that has been in place, this effect would not have been so much on us. And so government needs to stand up and do more in this area of improving in the production capacity that we currently are. And it's all of us collective activities we need to do. Those of us who need to make sure that the peace reign in the Niger Delta, that tranquility, we are not breaking the pipeline, and we are not being stifle the progress of the oil companies that are trying to bring out this oil. Those are things we need to ensure.
But the point Mr. Ajijola was making, so that's what you're commenting on, that we haven't even got
to the level at which we have sufficiency of production.
In order to actuate that particular plan.
I need the government people who are starting with that responsibility to be educating Nigerians. We are not meeting the production quota. So people just know that Nigerians have oil. How much are we producing?
But Dangote was talking about increasing the capacity of his refinery.
Yes, because Dangote is supporting our allocation to him by foreign importing of crude.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't understand that.
They don't understand. They thought we have it in our backyard in Ondo State.
Yes.
It's not yet here.
So why is Dangote having to buy, why is a Nigerian refinery, in fact, you engineers refer to it as the largest
single trade of
refinery in the world.
In the world, yes.
But how are we still in this? Well, you've been explaining part of how
650,000 barrels in a day.
In a day.
How much is the total production of Nigeria in a day? We are less than 1.6. We're less than. So, and you know, if you have already obligated to take more than 1 million out, you cannot meet that 650. We need to have over and above 2 million.
Yeah.
That is when we can be talking of we want to sit down. We are not sitting down.
So that's where President Tinubu's 2 million figure comes from. Mr. Yakub, thank you for holding on. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Chief Jolly, and then good morning to our guests.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe if I'm audible.
You are. We can hear you loud and clearly.
If you can hear me.
We can hear you very clearly.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You see, your guy said something earlier that even before now, our crude oil has been sold. And then you have to supply. They have already collected the money, even before this present government.
It's called future sales.
The only thing that I think the government needs to do is this. they should be able to increase the production. That's number one. Number two, why is it difficult to supply much more crude Dangote refinery? Because I remember sometimes ago, Mr. President made mention that they are going to supply the crude to Dangote refinery, and based on Nigerian currency, I don't know what.
Mr. Yakub, have you just joined us? We've touched there.
Yeah.
Maybe you've just joined us. We've touched there.
Oh, yes. But Chief Judge, let me even say this. You see, Chief Judge, there are some certain things that the Nigerian government needs to put in place or do. Number one, Chief Judge, is this. If petroleum PMS is going up like this, what happened to CNG? You see, some of us that sold a car, we wanted to convert our car to CNG, but if you know what is the price of converting your car to CNG will cost you, you quickly pick the race and run. Because to convert CNG, 50 engine to gas, you are going to spend almost 1.650, 1,650,000 naira. If you want to convert 4-cylinder, you are going to spend almost 1,250,000 naira. So what was the government doing in respect of that very particular issue? Because I think they even have chairman concerning this very particular CNG conversion and all that. What was the chairman doing? We don't know anything about this. The government needs to make this state shift for every citizen to be able to do it. But it is so cost to the extent that you cannot do it. Even the CNG gas is cheap, but the conversion is so much.
All right.
The Nigerian government needs to look into this.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, this situation has brought that matter up again. This particular administration tried to sell gas, you know, to Nigerians as a viable alternative. But we haven't heard very much. We hear that there are some fuel stations that actually have installed plants to dispense it. So you can drive into some stations and actually, instead of buying fuel, buy gas. But is it at a level that really affects
it's very low.
The larger figure?
Very low. How many stations,
very low.
How many stations have a CNG station in Lagos?
And then how many cars actually have
that engine or the conversions, their capability to buy?
Yes. And then with the price that Mr. Yakub just shared now.
Our audience has touched on very important things. There was a traction some months ago, but the traction is going down. We need to follow this project that government initiated. The president has a very good project to make the life easy for our people, but yet the implementation is below bet.
Do you have an idea why? Because I'm so happy that you are a professional in the field, you know, so why is the traction as low as it is? Where are the clogs?
The presidential initiative on natural gas, PING, that was instituted about a year ago, has a job clear-cutted out for them. But as of today, we hear that some of these importations of the equipment they need to use is still import. Bureaucracy. What is stopping it to be cleared, subvented, to make sure that it's a bit cheaper? That is one action point. The other action point is that this availability of gas for these people to convert to CNG. In the last 2 weeks, you remember that we have national grid breakdown almost all the time because of no gas.
Yes.
To the Gencos.
Yes.
There is a domestic gas obligation on every oil company in Nigeria. What is going to be a game changer is one of the pipelines that's supposed to cross the Niger from the south to cross the river Niger that we are still doing in the last 1 or 2 years. I want government to look into that pipeline. What is stopping it from crossing that Niger?
Or what is slowing the
What is slowing the construction down for us to transport gas that's being produced in Imo State, in the River State, across the Niger to serve the stations that need this gas?
I'm going to come back to that one. I'll try and remember it. But Prince in Warri, good morning to you, sir. Prince in Warri, good morning.
Good
Prince.
morning. God bless you.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
How are you doing today? I'm grateful. Good to see your face once again.
Thank you for calling in.
Yes, I have to appreciate you and your guests there. Good morning. The system is so bastardized, and we just have to beg God to come down to resolve all these issues around. You see, the guy, your visitors, your guest now has been.
counting from one step to another, trying to make us understand what is happening in this country. Nobody has come to explain all these things to us. Look at Warri Refinery. I'm calling from Warri now. As I'm talking to you, I'm calling from. He's telling us today that refinery has been Warri Refinery has been configured to refine American crude, and you have this thing at your backyard here. So what kind of system is that? This guy is saying that let's have a way of breaking this cabal, American cabal. But who is going to do it for us? In my village, Uncle, I have more than 42 oil wells in my village, but there's no primary school there. As we're talking now, Olomoro. No primary school in Delta State here. Over 46 oil wells. We have a gas reserve that is even high. Your guest just said it. The gas reserve we have is more than oil that we have in Nigeria, in the country. So God closed his eyes to bless us. And the system is bastardized. All what these politicians are looking for now is to look at their own pockets and their grandchildren that are yet unborn. Have you heard any day that senators' salary are owned? Politicians, they don't owe them salary. They don't owe them their money. But teachers, you owe teachers for 40 months.
Okay.
These are some of the things that are coming up. We need to come back home and look at Dangote Refinery. What is wrong with us, Uncle Yori? What is wrong with us?
It's exasperating. Thank you very much for calling in, Prince. Now, I wanted to return to the Prince that you were on it, and Prince has also brought it up. Why are we not able to help ourselves? There is the suggestion, I don't know whether it is juvenile or not, that there are interests in this country that it doesn't favor to be efficient in our development of the whole energy sector. And so this is holding it up. Now, what do you think of that notion?
The notion is not far-fetched. If you see if you carefully look at us in the last 40 years that the government is trying to reform our oil and gas industry, we will make some 2 steps forward. The next thing we make 10 steps backward.
Yeah.
That's to tell you that there are some organized arrangements by we, because nobody is going to deliver us. We have to do it ourselves. But we have some people right now in our system that is bent on not having us be sufficient in energy.
So what is the problem, engineer? President Tinubu, he wants there to be a thoroughfare, but as is often said, all you people out there, meaning the rest of us, you don't understand the constraints that he is up against, because it seems like a simple open and shut case, but it's not. It's not.
It's complex. That is why a lot of people who have not been to government or close to the position of authority will think it is just a karamai, just take the breakfast. When you get there, the government may have a good intention, but the implementation is a key issue for us. And that is why we need to put the right peg in the right hole and ensure that we have a fiscal policy that is not dependent on the personality of the person sitting on the seat of the government.
And then have the resolve to back it up.
It's affecting us in energy, it's affecting us in security. They were shouting, who are the promoter of this insecurity? This doesn't just happen.
Mr. Gbeleyi, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please go ahead.
Good morning to your guest there.
Good morning.
Let me tell you one vital point. Nigeria crude oil is the best in the world. Nigeria crude oil does not produce sulfur.
Well, it has a much lower content. It has a much lower sulfur content. It does have sulfur. It does have sulfur.
We produce crude oil from Nigeria.
Okay.
Now, why will Kyari go to overseas to convert Nigeria refineries to blend crude oil from America? that man should be tried. I have Guardian paper in my house here where they detail how they gave contracts out for that refinery and during President Buhari period. And almost 80% was given as down payment to do that crude oil.
Okay.
Why are they suffering us?
Okay.
President Tinubu was in Mobile and he did very well. You know all the games they are playing. He's just taking his Kool-Aid to do realignment for us to enjoy. I know definitely we are going to get there.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Gwele. Really do appreciate your call. But the point, one has to make the point that all of this crude oil, all of it has sulfur. So when, yes, but we are lucky the crude that we have, Bonny Light, Guinea Corn Sweet, and all of that, it's much, much lower in sulfur content, thereby making it a lot easier and less expensive to refine. So much so that some people say we don't, but all crude oil.
All crude oil have a sulfur.
All crude oil does have sulfur.
It have a lower sulfur content, among others.
But so, what Mr. Gwele is saying is that and that is what you were also saying, we need to look into this, seriously and see what can be done. It seems that there are political aspects to it.
Yes, we need to be patriotic. We have not been blessed with patriotic leaders that looks ahead beyond their nose of what immediate gratification. And it's surprising me. It doesn't stop you, even if you do the right for the people, from hitting. It doesn't stop you. So we begin to wonder what exactly is it. If we have a selfless leader who actually wants the good of the people, Nigeria has all it takes to be the giant that we are.
Well, on that particular note, when you said that, one doesn't want to jump up to the defense of the president, but he doesn't have anything to prove anymore in terms of being selflessness. So what is still,
the people
he's surrounded.
Mr. President cannot do everything.
He can't
if we put you as the managing director of Presidential Initiative for Natural Gas,
yes,
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you running the race as is expected of you? Why is the slow motion in this conversion kit?
And why is it being tolerated?
Nigeria Presidential Innovation on gas utilization domestic, where are they today?
These are the difficult questions. And whoever finds himself in there is going to have to be contending with those forces. So that's why you're saying that there are forces that are being contended with, Engineer Okedoye, as always, thank you very much for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
And throwing some light on this from the point of view of a professional. We're going to have to leave it here. That's our program today. Later on, there will be a live broadcast. The president will be commissioning several landmark projects, and he will be landing at the Bayelsa International Airport. TVC, of course, will be there to cover the event live. In the meantime, bye-bye for now. See you, God willing, on Monday with a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.